So it's the day after St. Patrick's Day, and I ended up with too much corned beef. I didn't even end up cooking an entire flat of it. So today, I'm gonna turn that extra uncooked flat of corned beef into pastrami. To make this pastrami, I'm gonna be using my Char Broil electric smoker, and I'm gonna be using maple wood chips. I'm gonna be filling the wood box up a little more than half. That should get me several hours of good smoke. Just about like that. Get our wood box in here. So I want to give you an idea of how I have this set up today for this cook. I have 3 racks in there. Only one is going to be necessary to hold the food, and that's this one. The upper rack is simply to hold the temperature probe for the ThermoPro digital thermometer. The bottom rack is going to hold a pan of water later on in the cook. Once we reach 160 to 165 internal on the corned beef as it's turning into pastrami, we're then going to introduce a large amount of hot water in here to help create some steam as we finish cooking up to about a 200-degree internal temperature. That's going to help add moisture back into the meat, which is losing a lot of moisture as it smokes in here, becoming pastrami. So let's set our temperature and get this cooking. Get our temperature on. We're going to set our temperature for 225. We're going to set our time. I'm going to set it for 10 hours. It's not going to take 10 hours, hopefully. I always set it over because I'm not using time as a guide generally. Unless I'm doing ribs, then it's a real helpful guide. I'm using temperature and tenderness. All right, we are making heat. Soon we'll be making smoke. In just a little bit, I'll show you that corned beef that I'm turning into a pastrami. Now this is an experiment for me. I've never done this before. I've read about it online. I've watched a couple videos. A lot of different techniques and methods. I'm kind of taking the best of the ones that I like the most and combining it into my own. This may be an utter failure. I'm letting you know that, because one of the things to remember is we're dealing with a piece of brisket here when you're doing corned beef or pastrami. That's where it comes from, brisket. And brisket, you can't mess around with. You have to be finicky with it and get it just right. So fingers crossed, I'm hoping this comes out. I'm gonna follow the best of the recipes and the methods that I've seen. If this does work, making your own pastrami, that's gonna be cool. Like my shirt? If you want to check this out, I'll put a link down below. You can find it in my Amazon store. All right, our ThermoPro's showing we've got an internal smoker temperature, 235, which is right between 225, 250. That's the range I'm shooting for today. So let's take a look at this corned beef that's going to become pastrami. So there it is. Now there's a process to this to get it ready. This flat of corned beef was soaked for 8 hours. I changed the water 4 hours in, so it had 2 exchanges of water while it was in the refrigerator staying cold. That's to help get the extra salt out of the corned beef. You don't want that much salt in there as you're smoking it to become a pastrami. Otherwise, it's going to super intensify that salty flavor. And there's enough salt left over in there. The rub on the outside that's going to create that sort of pastrami crust is a mixture of black pepper, coriander, some garlic powder, some red pepper flakes. There are all different kinds of rubs. I chose this one for this, but the coriander and the black powder are pretty much standard in almost all pastrami rubs. And it is coated thick on there. And remember, there's no salt added to this rub. You don't need it with this. As this smokes, from what I understand, it's going to shrink and that flavor is going to intensify even more. So let's get it in. We're just at the temp where that's starting to smoke up. Those chips are just starting to smolder. This is perfect. You can get maximum effect from that maple wood smoke. Maple was one of the smoke flavors I read about that people would use when making pastrami. Is also cherry, alder, things like that. This is just my choice. So let's get this flat of corned beef in there. Now I need to get this temperature probe in here and get it as close to the center as possible. I want a good, accurate reading. Get this plugged into the ThermoPro, and let's close this up. Smoker temp's coming back up after having it open. It'll be back up there, and we're 42 degrees internal meat temperature on the pastrami. It was in the refrigerator overnight after its soak with that rub on it, and I took it out about 45 minutes ago just to let it come up a little bit. So it's pretty cold, and we're gonna take it to about 165. That's the temperature I've seen a lot of these recipes go to before we switch over to the sort of moisture adding part of this, where we then take it up to about 200, 203 degrees with the addition of moisture in there, hopefully generating some steam. Again, there's different methods to do this. Some have you take the pastrami out at 165 and put it in the oven with a shallow tray of water below it on a rack to really sort of steam it up. Others have you slice it right at 165 and reheat the slices in steam to get it up to 203. I'm going to try it this way. This is a little bit different. I haven't seen this exact way done by anybody, but I'm sure someone has. I just haven't seen it. I want to see if this works. Again, this is an experiment. It could fail, but what the heck? Give it a try. And we're making smoke, and that maple smells really nice. I've used that a couple times before. That really smells nice. I like these maple chips. I've never used maple sticks in the offset smoker. I might have to try that sometime. But there's a good smell on this pastrami. I'm really interested to see how it adds to the flavor. 65 internal meat temp, 234 smoker temp. Doing good. See you in a bit. All right, we are just about 4 hours into this, and we're right around 163, almost to that 165 target. I'm going to go ahead and add the pan, or actually a bowl of hot water to the smoker now, so that we can start generating some moisture in there to finish this off and get it up to about 200 degrees. Let's see how our pastrami is coming. That's looking good. You can definitely see the shrinkage in there. It is just compressed. So it's doing what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to intensify the flavors, and hopefully this rub on there has done its job. Now we need to add the water. Let's slide this bowl of hot water right in there. It's going to be right below the pastrami as it cooks. We're going to get this closed up now and keep generating heat, hopefully get a good amount of steam in there. Gonna let the smoker temperature come back up, get back into probably the 230s. It was right about 240, I think, when I opened the door. Meat temps at 164, so we've got a good 35 degrees to go. I'm guessing another, it could be 3 more hours. We'll see. This is an experiment. Never done this before. Hopefully I'll learn something from it, and maybe you guys will learn what works, what doesn't from this. I think you can probably see it there, but we're generating steam, which is what wanted to happen. That's not smoke because it's dissipating very quickly. Might be an element of smoke in there, but it is mostly steam. And that's what we want, apparently, from what I've read. You want to get the moisture back in there, the moisture in the meat as you cook it. And looks like it's working. So we'll see. It's going to still be several hours. I'll bring you back when it's time to look at it again. Okay, so a slight change in plans here. It's been a little over 6 hours since I started smoking this pastrami, and we're at about 171 degrees internal. Now, this is basically a brisket, so this is sort of that stall time that you'll get, I'm assuming. Because it has slowed way down. We've just been creeping for about the last hour and a half, 2 hours almost, since I added the moisture in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out and foil it now. It should have absorbed a good amount of moisture from that water pan that I put in there. So I'm going to foil it, get the probe back in, and continue on that way to try and speed up the cooking process a bit. So let's open it up and see what it looks like right now. Oh. Yeah, look at that. Good color on that. Oh yeah, nice crust. All right, I'm gonna get this foiled up now. You know, it's probably hard to see on there because of the reflection of the foil. I'm gonna get this wrapped up now. Nice and tight. Let's get that back in the smoker. All right, gonna get our probe back in as close as possible to where it was. Now I'm gonna take this water pan out of here because we don't need it anymore while we're foiled. Close this up and let it keep cooking. You can see the internal meat temperature. It's 173, which is right about what it was when we pulled the probe, so we got pretty close to where it was. Smoker temp, mid 140s coming up after we had the door open. It should be back up into the 240s, 230s pretty soon. Gonna let this keep cooking until we hit about 195, 198. Pull it, keep it wrapped, and let it finish in some of its own juices there. Bring you back when we get to the end. All right, so we're at 198 internal after wrapping it in foil. And just so you know, from the time I wrapped it in foil until now, that's been 1 hour. So it came up approximately 27 degrees, 25, 27 degrees in 1 hour. So that's pretty impressive, and how that can speed that up and kind of move through that stall period. Once it was nearing the end of the stall period, but this definitely moved it quicker. So I'm going to get it out of there now and get it inside. We're going to leave it sit for about another probably 20, 30 minutes to just continue cooking, come up above that 200 degree temperature internal on its own. And then we're going to slice into it and see what it looks like and tastes like. Got our probe out. I'm going to get this inside. There is the finished pastrami before we cut into it. Has a really nice crust on the outside. Just a really, really nice dark color to it. I think it's time to slice into this. Okay, we're going to want to go against the grain, and I think the grain's running this way. I'm not 100% sure, so I'm going to do a test cut here first at the end. Ooh, look at that. That looks nice. That looks nice. Trying to do as thin a slice as possible. Oh, look at that. Look at that. And let me do another slice here. Again, trying to do this as thin as possible. If I had a slicer, that would be perfect right now. Ooh. Let's check for a little bit of tenderness here and see. Pulling apart nicely. Oh, that peppery smell right now is just amazing. I gotta taste this. I am very much looking forward to this. It smells really good. Look at that. Now, it's not thin enough to be, traditional pastrami that's just going to be kind of like folding and flopping. I think with a slicer it could do better. This started out as corned beef. We're attempting to make it into pastrami. So far, it's pretty close. Texture-wise and everything, no, not super close, but let's go for some flavor here and see what it tastes like. That's pastrami. Wow. I'm surprised. Totally get that peppery pastrami flavor on it. Wow. Oh, just, that is so nice. Let me see, I'm gonna lift up a piece here and see, just so you can see the color. You see the color in there? And the bark. I mean, that crust on the outside is so nice. Another little peppery taste. I'm totally happy with that. Wow. I really wish I had a slicer right now. If I had a slicer, what I would do is I would chill this in the refrigerator overnight, and then tomorrow I'd make thin, thin slices, and I think what I'd do is I'd steam them really quickly just to bring them up to temperature a little bit. I've read that that's what a lot of people do. But honestly, if you can slice them that thin for a cold pastrami sandwich, that would be awesome. Wow. Let's go for another taste. Yeah, this is totally a success. I gotta be honest, I thought it would probably be good. I wasn't really convinced that it was gonna be pastrami, that flavor. I thought you'd get a little bit of the residual corned beefy flavor in there. I don't get any of that. I get pastrami flavor. Wow. Not only would I do this again, I'm going to do this again. I think next time I'd experiment with some different flavors. Maybe a little bit of a sweetness in there, some brown sugar or something, because I've read that some people do that. They'll add some brown sugar to that rub with the pepper and coriander. This, you get a little bit of heat from those red pepper flakes I put in there, definitely, but oh boy, this is good. This is really, really good. I hope you enjoyed this video and watching me make pastrami. It was an experiment that I wasn't sure was gonna work, but it really worked. If you have the desire to try and do this, I would say go for it. You can even do this in the oven without adding all that smoke flavor. You can find recipes on how to do that on the web or on YouTube. But if you've got a smoker, a kettle grill that you can use to smoke anything like that, this really is good. That maple smoke in there, there's a depth of flavor in this meat, which I wasn't fully expecting, but it is there. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a like. It sure does help. And if you're interested in any of the items I used in this video, I'll put links in the description down below. That way you can check them out yourself. If you're a subscriber, thank you very much. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, if this is your first time here, consider subscribing. And if you do, make sure you click that bell. That way you'll get notifications anytime I put out a new video. Thank you all for watching. Hope you have a great evening, and I'll see you again soon.